My name is Claire Whitaker. And 3 days before my sister's wedding, my mother called to tell me I was no longer invited. I was sitting at my kitchen table with a wedding binder open in front of me, checking the final vendor list for the 4th time that week. When Evelyn Whitaker's name lit up my phone, I almost did not answer. Something about a call from my mother that close to Lily's wedding already felt like a problem wearing perfume. But I picked up anyway. "Claire," she said. Using the careful voice she saved for bad news, she expected me to accept quietly. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be." I looked down at the binder. Venue balance cleared. Catering deposit paid. Florist confirmed. Photographer paid in full. String quartet paid. Cake final invoice scheduled. Every line had my initials beside it because I was the one who had been quietly keeping the wedding alive for 6 months. "What are you talking about?" I asked. My mother sighed like I had already disappointed her. "We've decided it's best if you don't attend Lily's wedding." For a second, the room went so still I could hear the refrigerator humming. "We, your father, Lily, and I." My hand tightened around the pen. Lily agreed to this. There was a pause. Not long, just long enough to answer before my mother did. "Your sister is under a lot of stress. She doesn't need tension on her wedding day." Tension. That was what my family called me whenever I refused to be used politely. I was tension when I asked why Dad never paid back the money he borrowed. I was tension when I corrected Mom after she told relatives she had paid my college tuition. I was tension when I stopped hosting holidays where everyone praised Lily and left me washing dishes alone. "I haven't caused any tension," I said. "Claire, please." My father's voice came onto the line then, rough and impatient, like he had grabbed the phone from her hand. "This is a family event, and right now, after the way you've acted, you are not family." I stared at the binder. The words did not hurt immediately. They landed too cleanly for that. Not family. On the page in front of me, the venue contract listed me as authorized sponsor. The catering agreement listed my card for final release. The florist had my billing address. The photographer had my deposit. The planner, Marisol Grant, had sent every invoice to me because my parents had promised Lily a beautiful wedding and then privately admitted they could not afford even half of it. "Not family." "Say that again," I said quietly. My father exhaled. "Don't be dramatic." "No. Say it again." My mother came back on the phone. "Claire, your father means that emotionally, it would be healthier if you kept your distance. Lily deserves one peaceful day without you making everything about old resentments." I almost laughed. Old resentments. 6 months earlier, Lily had shown up at my apartment crying because the venue was threatening to release her date. Mom and Dad had promised her the wedding of her dreams. Then, hidden behind phrases like cash flow, temporary delay, and after the next account clears, Lily had sat on my couch with her mascara running and whispered, "I don't need fancy. Claire, I just don't want to be humiliated." So I helped. Not for my parents, for my sister. I paid the emergency deposit, then the next invoice, then the caterer, then the flowers. Because Mom had already told everyone about the white roses, I built a private payment schedule with Marisol. And I made Lily promise one thing: this is a gift to you and Noah. Not a stage for Mom and Dad to pretend they paid. Lily had cried and said she understood. Apparently, understanding had an expiration date. "Does Noah know I'm not invited?" I asked. My mother's voice sharpened. "Noah does not need to be dragged into our family issues. But he can stand inside a wedding I paid for silence." Then my father said, "Watch your tone." There it was. The old command. The one that used to make me apologize before I had even finished being wronged. I looked at the binder again. At the neat rows of receipts. Confirmation. And scheduled payments. My name was everywhere. They did not want my face to be. Okay, I said. My mother hesitated. Okay. My father sounded suspicious. You understand, I understand perfectly. I ended the call before either of them could explain my own erasure to me. For a full minute, I sat still at my kitchen table, staring at the wedding binder that had become, without my permission, a record of how much it cost to be unwanted by people who still needed your money. Then I opened my email. At the top was a final guest list confirmation from the venue. Claire Whitaker removed per family request. I read it once. Then again. My chest felt hollow. But my hands were steady when I picked up the phone and called Marisol Grant. She answered on the second ring. Claire. Hi. I was just about to call you. There's been a guest list change. And I wanted to, I know. I said. Am I still listed as the financial sponsor? A pause. Yes. And am I still listed as family? Another pause. Longer this time. Claire. I closed the binder with one hand. If I'm not family, then I'm not the family sponsor. Outside my apartment window, traffic moved normally, like nothing had changed. But inside my kitchen, every invoice my parents had bragged about became a door. I finally had the key to lock. They had not banned a guest. They had banned the person keeping the lights on. 6 months before my sister's wedding, Lily came to my apartment on a rainy Thursday night with mascara under her eyes and a venue contract clutched in both hands. She did not call first. She just knocked 3 times. The way she used to when we were children, and she had done something wrong, but wanted me to open the door before I knew what it was. When I saw her standing in the hallway, soaked through her beige coat and trembling, my first thought was that Noah had hurt her. My second thought was that our parents had... What happened? I asked. Lily walked past me into the apartment and placed the contract on my kitchen table like it weighed more than paper. Mom and Dad lied. I almost smiled. Not because it was funny, but because the sentence was so late arriving. About what this time? She wiped her cheek with the heel of her hand. The wedding. The venue called me today. They said if the second deposit isn't paid by Monday, they'll release the date. I looked at the contract. Rose Hill Manor. Ballroom. Garden ceremony. Plated dinner. Premium floral package. Live quartet. Late night dessert bar. It was not a wedding plan. It was a performance with a bride attached. I thought Mom and Dad were paying. Lily laughed once. Broken and embarrassed. So did I. She sank into the chair across from me, her shoulders shaking. They kept saying the money was coming from Dad's investment account. Then Mom said there was a timing issue. Then Dad said a wire got delayed. Today the venue manager told me only the first small hold fee was paid. I sat down slowly. Does Noah know? No. Her eyes snapped to mine. Desperate. Please don't tell him yet. His family already thinks mine is... intense. Mom has been bragging for months that they're giving me the wedding I deserve. If this falls apart, I'll be humiliated. There it was. The Whitaker family religion humiliation was always the emergency, never the lie that caused it. Still, this was Lily, my little sister. The girl who used to climb into my bed after thunderstorms and ask me to tell her stories until the rain stopped. The woman sitting in front of me now was spoiled in ways she did not always see. But she was also scared, and I hated that my first instinct was still to protect her from our parents' mess. How much is the deposit? I asked. She pushed the paper toward me. The number was ugly. Not impossible for me. Not anymore. But ugly. I had spent 10 years building my event logistics company from nothing, quietly handling corporate retreats, charity galas, emergency vendor rescues, and contracts for people who paid me very well to make disasters look like they had never happened. My parents knew I worked in planning. They did not know how successful I had become because they never asked questions unless the answer could make them look good. Lily knew a little more, but even she did not know enough to understand what I could afford. Claire, I'm not asking you to pay for everything, she said quickly. Just maybe help me talk to them, or loan me enough to hold the date until Dad figures it out. Dad won't figure it out, I said. Her face fell because she knew I was right. I opened my laptop and read the contract line by line. The venue had a release clause. The caterer had a payment deadline. The florist had already ordered sample materials based on my mother's changes. Every vendor had been promised money by people who were very good at sounding wealthy over the phone. If I help, I said. There are conditions. Lily nodded too fast. Anything. Do not say anything until you hear them. She went still. I turned the contract toward her. This is a gift to you and Noah. Not to Mom. Not to Dad. I am not funding a stage for them to stand on and pretend they paid for it. I know. No. Lily, you need to actually know. My voice stayed calm. But something hard had entered it. Every contract I touch lists me as payer or financial sponsor. Marisol, the planner, knows the truth. The venue knows the truth. No reimbursements through Mom and Dad. No guest money routed through them. No announcements about how generous they are, and if they use my money to erase me. Evoque, Lily looked hurt. Erase you, I held her gaze. Do not act confused. You know how they are. She looked down. That was the closest she came to admitting it. I just want one day that doesn't feel like a fight. She whispered. Then don't build it on a lie. For a moment, I thought she might leave. Instead, she nodded. Okay. I paid the deposit that night. By Monday. Rose Hill Manor confirmed the date. By the end of the month, I had paid the caterer's release, the florist's first half, the photographer, the quartet, the cake designer, and the planner retainer my parents had apparently promised twice and ignored both times. My mother posted a photo of Lily touring the ballroom with the caption, "Anything for our baby girl." My father told relatives, "We're giving Lily the wedding she deserves." I said nothing. I kept every receipt. I saved every email. And each time my parents bragged about the wedding they were not paying for, I reminded myself that I was doing this for Lily. Not for them. Never for them. But looking back, that was my mistake. I thought silence was protecting my sister's wedding. Really. It was teaching my family that they could spend my love and still deny I belonged. After the deposit cleared, my parents became generous overnight. Not with money. Of course, with stories. My mother suddenly spoke like a woman who had personally built Rose Hill Manor from the ground up for Lily's happiness. She posted photos of the ballroom, the tasting plates, the floral mock-ups, and the cake sketches with captions like, "A mother will do anything for her daughter's dream day." My father told his golf friends, his office clients, or cousins, and apparently half the neighborhood that he was spending a fortune because Lily deserved a wedding people would remember. Every time I saw one of those posts, one of those comments, one of those little red hearts under my mother's lie, I opened my vendor folder and added another receipt. Marisol Grant, the planner, knew the truth. She was sharp, careful, and too professional to say what she was thinking. But after the third time, my mother changed the floral order and told the florist to bill Martin. Marisol called me directly. "Claire," she said, "I just want to confirm that all payment changes still need your written approval." "Yes." She paused. "Your mother seems to believe she has final financial authority. My mother believes many things." Marisol let out one tiny breath that might have been a laugh if she were less disciplined. "Understood." That was how it went for months. My parents performed wealth. I paid invoices. Lily sent me nervous thank you texts at midnight and then stood beside Mom in dress boutiques where I had not been invited. At first, I told myself she was overwhelmed. Weddings make people selfish in acceptable ways. And Lily had spent her whole life being trained to avoid disappointing our parents. But then the erasure became harder to excuse. I found out through Instagram that she had chosen her maid of honor. I found out through Instagram college friend who once asked if I was the serious sister. I found out from Marisol that there would be no sibling speech because my mother said, "Claire gets intense with microphones." I found out from the photographer shot list that I was not included in the formal family portraits. There was a photo for Lily with Mom and Dad, Lily with Noah's parents, Lily with both families, Lily with cousins, Lily with bridesmaids, Lily with important relatives. My name appeared once, near the bottom. Under candid reception coverage if time allows. If time allows. That was where 10 years of cleaning up family messes had placed me. Noah still did not know. That bothered me more than I wanted to admit. He was kind, decent, and annoyingly sincere in the way people from emotionally normal families sometimes are. Once, he called me to ask whether Lily preferred ivory or pearl earrings because he wanted to surprise her with something small before the ceremony. "You know her taste better than anyone," he said. I almost told him everything right then. I almost said, "Noah, I know her taste because I paid the accessories invoice after my mother maxed out another card." I almost said, "Noah, your wedding is standing because your future in-laws lied and your future wife let me quietly rescue her." Instead, I said, "Pearl, she'll say ivory is too yellow in photos." He laughed. "You're good at this." "I've had practice." He did not hear the exhaustion under it. People rarely do when competence is useful. The closer the wedding came, the more my parents pushed me out of anything visible. My mother told me the bridal suite would be too crowded. My father said the rehearsal dinner seating was politically delicate. Lily asked if I would mind sitting with some family friends at the reception because Noah's relatives needed the front tables. I asked, "Am I not your relative?" She cried. Not because she had no answer, but because she did not like what the answer made her. "Claire, please," she said. "I'm just trying to keep Mom calm." That was always the bargain. Everyone kept Mom calm by handing me the sharp objects and asking me not to bleed on the carpet. I should have stopped paying then. I should have reminded Lily of the promise she made at my kitchen table. Back when her mascara was running, and she still understood that lies had consequences. But the final balances were due. The invitations were mailed. Noah's family had booked flights. And every time I thought about pulling the plug, I pictured my sister standing in a half-built wedding, humiliated by our parents' fraud. So I paid the caterer. I released the florist payment. I approved the final cake invoice. I funded the string quartet, my mother claimed was her special gift. Then, 3 days before the wedding, Marisol forwarded me the final guest list with a note that said, "Please confirm this change was authorized." I opened the attachment and saw it in plain black letters, "Claire Whitaker removed per family request." I stared at the screen for a long time, and something in me finally stopped making excuses. They had taken my money, taken my silence, taken my protection, and then tried to take away the one thing even a stranger would have been given at a wedding: a chair. That was when I realized I had not been saving Lily from humiliation. I had been paying for the room where they planned to humiliate me. I did not call my mother first. That would have given her a stage. And Evelyn Whitaker never met a stage she could not turn into proof that she was the victim. I did not call my father either. Martin would have shouted, threatened, and said something about respect while standing on 6 months of invoices with my name on them. I called Lily. She answered on the 4th ring, breathless, with noise behind her bridesmaids. Garment bags. My mother's voice giving instructions somewhere in the distance. "Claire," she said. "Is everything okay?" I looked at the guest list on my laptop. Claire Whitaker removed per family request. Did you know? The noise behind her seemed to fade. No, what? Don't do that. Silence. Then a small bianets. Shaky breath. Mom said it would be easier. I closed my eyes. There it was. Not surprise. Not confusion. Permission. Easier for who Lily did not answer. For Mum? I said. For Dad. For the photos. For the story where they gave you everything and I didn't exist. Claire. Please. I'm getting married in 3 days. I know. I paid the final cake invoice this morning. She inhaled sharply. I didn't ask you to keep doing that. No. You just let me. That one landed. I could hear it. I was going to fix it after the wedding. She whispered. How? I don't know. Talk to them. Explain. After they used my money and erased my face, her voice broke. I didn't want to fight. Then you should not have built peace out of me. For a moment, the line filled with background noise, a zipper, laughter. My mother saying something about the veil. Then Lily said, so quietly, I almost missed it. Dad said, you always make things tense. I looked around my kitchen at the binder. The contracts. The receipts. The color-coded tabs I had made because I wanted one thing in this family to happen without disaster. No. Lily. Debt makes things tense. Lies make things tense. Removing the person paying for your wedding from the guest list makes things tense. She began to cry. Years ago. That sound would have moved me instantly. I would have softened. Apologized. Found a way to make her feel less responsible. But I had spent 6 months paying invoices while being reduced from sister to problem. And I was too tired to rescue the person who had watched the erasure happen in real time. Claire. She said, please don't do anything. That depends. On what? On whether you tell Noah the truth before I do. The line went dead quiet. Noah doesn't know, I asked. Her silence answered, Lily. I was embarrassed. Of me. No. Too fast. Too guilty. Of the money. She said. Of Mom and Dad lying. Of needing help. So you let them pretend they paid? I thought it would be harmless if everyone was happy. I looked again at the removed guest line. Everyone was not happy. I was just quiet. She cried harder. What do you want me to do? Tell Noah. Tell him who paid. Tell him why. Tell him I was removed. Claire. That will ruin everything. No. I said. It will introduce everything to the truth. I hung up before she could ask me to wait. Then I called Marisol. She answered like someone who had been expecting the phone to ring. Claire. You saw the guest list. Yes. Am I still the authorized payer? Yes. Am I still listed as financial sponsor? Yes. And if I withdraw final authorization, she was silent for a professional second too long. Then the venue cannot release the ballroom. Catering. Floral setup. Music. Or event services under the current payment structure. We would have to notify the family immediately. Do it? Marisol did not gasp. She did not judge. She only said, do you want to cancel the event entirely or suspend services pending correction? I respected her for asking the precise question. Suspend pending correction. I am not destroying Lily's wedding because my parents lied. But I will not fund my own erasure. Understood. All vendors should be notified that no further funds are authorized unless I am reinstated as sponsor and guest. And unless Lily and Noah receive written confirmation of who paid what. I'll prepare the notice. I stared at the binder one last time. Marisol, yes, make sure my mother gets the call. She will. 20 minutes later, while I was still sitting at my kitchen table, my phone lit up with my mother's name, then my father's, then Lily's, then my mother's again. I let every call go unanswered. Finally, a text arrived from my father. "What the hell did you do?" I typed back one sentence. "You said I wasn't family." I accepted the terms. Then I turned and so my mother called 15 times in 6 minutes. My father called 9. Lily called twice, then stopped, which told me she was either finally telling Noah the truth or standing in a room where my parents were explaining why I was the villain. I sat at my kitchen table with my phone face down, listening to it vibrate against the wood like an insect trapped under glass. For 6 months, they had used my silence as a payment method. Now they were discovering silence could also decline a charge. Marisol's email arrived at 442 p.m. Copied to Rose Hill Manor's venue manager, Caroline Hayes, the couture, the florist, the cake designer, the photographer, and the quartet coordinator. Subject sponsor authorization suspended pending guest list correction. I opened it and read every line. Claire Whitaker, the listed financial sponsor and authorized payer, has suspended all remaining event releases, pending correction of sponsor status, guest list access, and written disclosure of payment history to Lily Whitaker and Noah Bennett. Existing paid deposits remain documented. No additional services may proceed under the current authorization until sponsor consent is restored. It was clean, professional, devastating, exactly what my parents deserved. 12 minutes later, Caroline Hayes called my mother. I knew because Marisol sent me a note afterward. Venue has notified Evelyn Whitaker that event release is suspended. Evelyn stated this must be a misunderstanding. I stared at the word misunderstanding until it almost became funny. My mother always loved calling consequences misunderstandings. Then, Lily called again. This time, I answered. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. Claire. Mom says the venue told her you canceled everything. I suspended authorization. They said the ballroom won't be released. Not until the correction is made. The wedding is in 3 days. I know. I paid for most of it. She went quiet. Behind her, I heard my father shouting, "Give me the phone." Then Noah's voice, firm and unfamiliar in that tone, said, "No. Let hair talk." My chest tightened. So he knew now. "Did you tell him?" I asked. Lily sobbed once. "Yes." Everything a pause. "Enough. That is not the same thing." Noah spoke next. Closer to the phone. "Claire. It's Noah. I'm sorry. I didn't know you were paying. I didn't know they removed you." His voice sounded shaken, but not defensive. That mattered. Ask Lily what she knew. I said, "Silence." Then Lily whispered, "Claire." "No. Ask her. Ask her when she knew I wasn't in the bridal suite. Ask her when she knew I wasn't giving a speech. Ask her when she knew I wasn't in the family photos. Ask her when she knew I was removed from the guest list." Noah said nothing for a moment. Then, quietly, "Lily, I did not enjoy that silence. I had dreamed of many versions of my family finally being exposed. But none of them felt good when they arrived through my sister's crying. Still, pain was not proof I was wrong. I was scared." Lily said, "Of what?" I asked. "Of losing the wedding. So you risked losing me instead." That sentence broke something open on the line. Lily made a sound I had not heard since we were children. Not bridal panic. Not embarrassment. Grief. My father finally got close enough to the phone to be heard. "Claire. Stop torturing your sister." I leaned back in my chair. "You told me I wasn't family. That was your mother's phrasing. My mother gasped in the background. Even now, they were willing to throw each other into the fire before admitting they lit it together. You were on the call, I said. You said it too. I was angry. I was paying. Another silence. Noah spoke again. Claire. What has to happen for the wedding to continue? It was the first practical question anyone had asked. Not how do we make Mom calm down. Not how do we keep Dad from being embarrassed. Not how do we get Claire to stop reacting. What has to happen? I opened the document I had already drafted. 1. Lily and Noah received the full payment record showing what I paid and what Mom and Dad did not. 2. All vendors keep me listed as payer and sponsor. 3. Mom and Dad cannot publicly or privately claim they funded the wedding. 4. I am restored to the guest list. But I decide whether I attend. 5. There is a written correction before the rehearsal dinner. Signed by Lily and Noah, stating that I was wrongly removed. My father exploded. Absolutely not. Noah answered before I could. Then there is no wedding. The line went dead silent. My mother whispered, Noah? You don't mean that. His voice hardened. I mean, I'm not marrying Lily inside a lie I just found out about. For the first time all day, I felt the room shift, even though I was alone in my apartment. My parents had expected me to be the problem. They had not expected the groom to refuse the cover-up. Lily cried quietly. I'll sign it, she said. I'll tell the truth. My father snapped. You will embarrass this family. I closed my eyes. No. Dad. The unpaid bills already did. Then I hung up. 10 minutes later, Marisol emailed me again. Noah Bennett has requested full payment disclosure. Asend BCOB 7. Asend 2 Havend ADS. Lily Whitaker has agreed to written correction. Evelyn and Martin are objecting. Please advise. I looked at the binder. At every tab. Every receipt. Every place my name had been useful while my presence was not. Then I typed back, continue suspension until correction is signed. Not family. Not funding. The payment record hit Lily and Noah's inbox at 7:18 that night. And for once, the truth arrived without my mother standing in front of it. Marisol sent it as a clean PDF venue deposit. Catering release. Florist payments. Photographer contract. Cake invoice. Quartet fee. Planner retainer. Transportation hold. Security deposit. Every charge sorted by date and payer. My name appeared so many times, it almost looked like a signature across the entire wedding. Claire Whitaker. Claire Whitaker. Claire Whitaker. Not Martin. Not Evelyn. Not the family. Me. Lily called. 20 minutes later. I did not answer. Then Noah called. I did. Claire. He said. Voice low. I'm looking at the record. Good. You paid for almost everything. Yes. There was a pause long enough for him to turn a page. Why didn't anyone tell me I looked at the closed wedding binder on my table? Because the people enjoying the lie had no reason to end it. He exhaled slowly. I'm sorry. You already said that. I mean it more now. That was honest enough that I did not cut him off. In the background, I heard Lily crying quietly. But Noah did not hand her the phone. I respected him for that. Your parents are trying to change the wording, he said. Of course they are. They want the correction to say you contributed generously. I laughed once. It was small and cold. Contributed, that's what I said. No. I know. His voice hardened. I told them the correction, says funded. A strange silence opened inside me. Not softness. Not forgiveness. But something like relief that someone else had finally understood the weight of a word before I had to drag it into the room. What did my mother say? I asked. She said that wording would humiliate them. I looked down at my phone. Tell her the receipts already did. Noah was quiet for a second. Then he said, I think Lily needs to say this to you herself. She can email me. She wants to call. Wanting access after losing control is a family habit. I said, email is fine. He accepted that. Another new thing. 20 minutes later, Lily's email arrived. Subject correction draft. I opened it slowly. Expecting apology fog. Expecting soft language. Expecting my mother's fingerprints all over the sentences. The first draft proved I was right to be careful. Claire generously helped make the wedding possible. Due to family miscommunication, Claire was mistakenly removed from the guest list. I stared at mistakenly for a full minute. Then, I forwarded it back with tracked changes. Generously helped became funded. Family miscommunication became our parents' decision, and my failure to stop it. Mistakenly removed became wrongly removed after 6 months of financial sponsorship. I added one final line. Claire's attendance is her choice. Not an obligation created by this correction. Then I sent it. My father called immediately. I declined. My mother texted, "Do you want to humiliate us?" I typed back before I could overthink it, "No. I want the receipt to match the room." She did not answer. For once, maybe even she understood there was no pretty way to argue with a sentence that clean. The signed correction arrived just after midnight. Lily's signature looked shaky. Noah's looked firm. Martin and Evelyn did not sign because the statement was not asking their permission. It was from the bride and groom. That mattered. Marisol restored the event release at 1217 a.m. The venue confirmed the ballroom. The caterer confirmed dinner. The florist released the white roses my mother had been claiming as her gift. The quartet confirmed arrival. The cake designer wrote, "Payment status resolved. Delivery proceeding." The wedding was saved the moment they stopped pretending I was invisible. The next morning, Marisol called to ask if I wanted my place restored at the family table. "No." I said, "Do you want another seat?" "Yes." "Somewhere near the aisle." "Easy exit." She paused. Then said, "Understood." And Marisol, "Yes, no family photos unless I request them. I'll note that." I could hear in her voice that she had planned enough weddings to understand the difference between being included and being displayed after damage. At noon, Noah sent the correction to his parents first. Margaret and Thomas Bennett replied within 10 minutes. "Thank you for telling us the truth. Claire is welcome to sit with us if she attends." My throat tightened unexpectedly. Welcome. Not needed. Not tolerated. Not useful. Welcome. I saved the email and did not respond. By evening, the correction had gone to the immediate wedding party, key relatives, and vendors. It did not include every ugly detail, but it included enough that my parents could no longer stand under chandeliers and call themselves generous without everyone knowing whose money had kept the lights on. My father sent one last message through Lily. "You are tearing this family apart over credit." Lily forwarded it to me with only one line of her own. "I told him not to use me as a hallway to you again." I stared at that sentence longer than I expected. Then I replied, "Good." It was not forgiveness. It was not peace. It was one correct brick placed where a wall should have been years ago. The day before the wedding, my mother tried one final version of control. She left a voicemail saying, "Claire, if you come, please don't make a scene. Let your sister have her day." I deleted it halfway through. Then I opened the binder, printed the signed correction, and placed it on top of every receipt. They had wanted me out of the wedding so the room would look cleaner. Instead, the room now had paperwork. And paperwork, unlike me, could not be told to sit quietly in the back. The morning of the wedding arrived with rain. which felt less like weather and more like the universe refusing to pretend anything. Part 7. The morning of the wedding arrived. About the day was clean. I woke before my alarm, stared at the gray ceiling above my bed, and considered not going. No one could have blamed me. Not honestly. The event was paid for. The correction was signed. The vendors were protected. No one knew the truth. Lily had been forced to see at least part of it. My parents had lost the right to stand in the ballroom and call themselves generous without people swallowing questions behind their champagne glasses. I had already done enough. More than enough. But then I thought about the sentence my mother had used 3 days earlier. This is a family event. And right now, you are not family. If I stayed home, she would still find a way to make my absence useful. She would lower her voice near relatives and say, I had chosen bitterness. My father would shake his head and say I always needed control. They would turn the empty chair into proof that removing me had been necessary. So I got dressed. Not in anything dramatic. Not white. Not black. Not revenge red. I wore a deep blue dress with clean lines. Low heels. And the necklace my grandmother had given me before she died, the one my mother once said was too plain for formal photos. Perfect. I arrived at Rose Hill Manor 30 minutes before the ceremony. The garden looked beautiful because my payments had made it beautiful white roses on the arch, polished chairs on the lawn, candles waiting in glass cylinders, the quartet tuning beneath a covered terrace. For a second, the old ache rose in me. I had helped build something lovely, and they had tried to make sure I would only see it through someone else's pictures. Marisol met me near the entrance with a clipboard and the expression of a woman prepared to block a charging bull. Claire, she said gently, your seat is ready. Aisle side. 3rd row from the back. Thank you. Your parents are aware you're here. I assumed they would smell accountability. Her mouth twitched. No family photos unless you request them. No one has authority to move your seat. If anyone approaches you aggressively, staff will intervene. I nodded. And the signed correction printed, and in the event file, digital copies with all vendors. Good. I stepped inside the garden area, and the first person I saw was Noah. He broke away from his groomsmen and walked toward me without hesitation. That mattered more than I wanted it to. Claire, he said, thank you for coming. I haven't decided if I'm staying for the reception. That's fair. He looked nervous. But not because of me. I also wanted to say this before the ceremony. I'm sorry, my wedding became another place where your family used you. I studied him. You didn't know. No, but I benefited from not knowing. That was a better answer than I expected. I nodded once. Take care of Lily. I will. And I won't let your parents rewrite this. Before I could answer, my mother appeared near the floral arch. Evelyn Whitaker looked flawless in mauve silk and panic. Her smile froze when she saw me, then rearranged itself into something that might pass for maternal if no one looked closely. My father stood beside her, jaw tight, eyes moving from me to Noah to the guests already arriving. He did not approach. Good. Men like Martin hated public limits more than private rejection. The ceremony began on time because the venue had been paid by the daughter they banned. Lily walked down the aisle looking beautiful and terrified. When her eyes found me, she almost stumbled. Not enough for anyone else to notice, but enough for me to know. She had not been sure I would come. I did not smile. I did not punish her either. I simply sat where I had chosen to sit, visible enough to be counted and far enough away to leave. The vows were simple. Noah's voice held steady. Lily's broke once when she promised honesty. I looked down at my hands. Promises are easy at altars. Harder in kitchens, contracts, and guest lists. After the ceremony, While guests moved toward cocktail hour, my father finally came toward me. Marisol saw him immediately and shifted closer from the side. Noah's mother, Margaret Bennett, also noticed and stepped into conversation distance without pretending it was accidental. My father stopped in front of me, smiling with his teeth. "Claire, I'm glad you decided to be reasonable." I looked at him. "Careful. The paperwork is still warm." His smile died. My mother joined him, voice low. "Please do not embarrass us today. You keep asking me not to do what the receipts already did." Margaret's eyebrows lifted slightly. My father lowered his voice. "This is not the time. Funny," I said. "You thought 3 days before the wedding was the perfect time to tell me I wasn't family." My mother's eyes flicked around, terrified someone had heard. Someone had. Several someones. Lily appeared then, still holding her bouquet. Noah beside her. Her face was pale but determined. "Mom." "Dad," she said. "Leave Claire alone." My father looked at her like she had spoken a foreign language. "Lily, this is between us and your sister." "No," Lily said, voice shaking. "It stopped being between you when you used her money and removed her name." The silence around us widened. My mother's mouth tightened. "Lily." "Not here." Lily looked at me, then back at them. "You made it here." For the first time that day, I felt something loosen in my chest. Not forgiveness, not trust, but recognition. One correct brick. One more. My father stepped back, humiliated not by shouting, but by being corrected by the daughter whose wedding he had tried to use as cover. Marisol approached smoothly. "Family portraits are beginning. Claire, would you like to participate?" Every eye turned to me. My mother's face sharpened with hope and dread at once. If I said yes, they could frame it as healing. If I said no, they could call me bitter. I looked at Lily. "Do you want me in the photo because I'm your sister?" I asked. "Or because the correction looks better with proof?" Her eyes filled. "Because you're my sister. But I understand if I lost the right to ask today." That was the first answer that did not insult both of us. I nodded slowly. "One photo. With you and Noah. Not them." My mother inhaled like she had been slapped. My father's face went red. Marisol did not hesitate. Understood. So I stood beside Lily and Noah under the white roses I had paid for, while my parents watched from 6 feet away. Excluded from the first honest family photo of the day. The photographer lifted his camera. Lily whispered, "Thank you." I faced forward. "Don't waste it." The shutter clicked. And for once, the image matched the truth. The reception began under chandeliers my parents could no longer pretend they had paid for. That was the quiet punishment. Nothing looked ruined. The roses were perfect. The candles glowed. The quartet played exactly on cue. The plated dinner moved out of the kitchen warm, elegant, and beautifully timed. From a distance, it was the kind of wedding Evelyn Whitaker had always wanted people to believe she could give. Up close, the truth sat at every table like an extra guest. I took my aisle seat near the back, the one Marisol had arranged, and watched relatives whisper over folded napkins. Some glanced at me with embarrassment. Some looked at my parents with curiosity sharpened into judgment. A few did both. My father stood near the bar, laughing too loudly with 2 uncles who no longer laughed back as quickly. My mother moved through the room touching shoulders, smiling, trying to stitch the evening back together with social thread. But every time someone said, "The flowers are gorgeous," there was a pause afterward. Every time someone complimented the venue, their eyes moved, just briefly, toward me. The correction had worked. Not because it made them apologize, but because it made lying harder. Lily and Noah entered the room to applause. I clapped. Not wildly. Not bitterly. Just enough. Lily saw me and gave a small nod. As if she understood even that much was not owed. Dinner started. For 20 minutes. No one bothered me. That alone felt luxurious. Then my mother came to my table with a champagne flute in her hand and a smile that had survived on pure discipline. "Claire," she said softly. "May I sit?" I looked at the empty chair beside me. "No." Her smile flickered. "I only want to talk." "That has never been the only thing you wanted." The cousin across from me suddenly became deeply interested in his salad. My mother's voice lowered. "People are asking questions." "They should. You don't understand what this is doing to your father." I turned my water glass slowly between my fingers. "Your concern for Dad's feelings arrived faster than your concern for excluding me from a wedding I funded." Her eyes shone. But I had grown up with those eyes. I knew the difference between tears and tactics. "We made a mistake." She whispered. "You made a decision. Claire. Please. This is your sister's wedding." "Exactly. Go sit with your daughter." That landed. Her mouth tightened around the word your. Because she heard what I had done with it. Not my sister. Her daughter. The one she chose publicly when choosing cost nothing. Before she could answer, Marisol appeared at the edge of the table. "Mrs. Whitaker. Lily and Noah are preparing for their first dance. They're asking for immediate family to remain near the dance floor." My mother brightened for half a second. "Of course." Then Marisol added, "Claire. Lily asked that you be invited as well. But only if you want to." My mother went still. I looked across the room. Lily stood beside Noah near the dance floor. Hands clasped around her bouquet. Watching me with cautious hope. Not demand. Not expectation. Hope. That was safer. "Smaller." I stood. "I'll watch from the side." My mother inhaled. "Claire. Don't make this strange." I looked at her. "You made me absent." "Strange is an improvement." I walked to the side of the dance floor. Not beside my parents. Not behind them either. Noah's parents stood nearby. Margaret Bennett gave me a gentle nod and made space without touching me. The music began. Lily and Noah danced under the lights. And for a moment, the room softened around them. They looked young. Scared. And newly aware that marriage built on silence would not last long. Halfway through the song, Lily looked over Noah's shoulder at me. Her eyes filled. But she did not make the moment about asking me to forgive her. Good. After the dance, speeches began. My father was supposed to give the first toast. I knew that because I had paid the microphone rental and seen the timeline. He walked to the stage with the stiff pride of a man stepping toward a weapon that might fire backward. He cleared his throat. "Family," he began. And the word itself seemed to hesitate in the air. A few people looked at me. He noticed. His jaw tightened. "Family is complicated," he continued. "But today is about Lily and Noah. And about everyone who helped make this day possible." That was as close as he planned to come. Everyone who helped. No name. No correction. No receipt. Lily stepped forward before he could continue. "Dad." The room turned. My father froze. Lily's voice shook. But she did not back away. "Say her name." My mother closed her eyes. Noah stood beside Lily. Steady and silent. My father stared at her. "This is not necessary." Lily lifted her chin. "Yes, it is." The ballroom went quiet. My father looked at me then. And for 1 second, I saw every version of him fighting for control, the generous father, the embarrassed host, the angry man, the liar running out of room. Finally, he said through a tightened mouth, Claire helped make this day possible. Lily did not move. Funded, she said. A soft ripple moved through the tables. My father's face darkened. But there was no way out. Not with Noah watching. Not with Margaret watching. Not with the signed correction in the event file. Not with every vendor knowing the truth. Claire funded this wedding, he said at last. And we are grateful. The words sounded painful for him. I did not smile. I did not clap. I only let the room hear it. My mother looked like she might shatter. Lily exhaled, almost collapsing into Noah's hand. The toast never recovered its polish after that. But it finally contained one honest sentence. Sometimes that is enough to ruin a lie. Later, as dessert was served, my father passed my table without looking at me. My mother did not come back. Guests who had avoided me earlier began offering careful compliments. Beautiful wedding. One aunt said, You were very generous. I looked at the white roses. The gold lights. The cake my mother had called her. Special gift. No, I said. I was very documented. By the time the music grew louder and the dance floor filled, I knew I would not stay until the end. The wedding had been saved. The truth had been named. My parents had been forced to stand inside the room they built and admit who kept it standing. That was enough. I picked up my purse, nodded once to Lily from across the room, and walked toward the exit before anyone could turn my presence into forgiveness. Behind me, the reception continued. This time, without my silence paying for the lie, I was halfway down the front steps of Rose Hill Manor when Marisol caught up with me. Careful not to run in heels. Claire, she called softly. I stopped under the portico, where the rain had thinned into a silver mist over the driveway. Behind us, music pulsed through the ballroom walls, polished and expensive, and no longer strong enough to cover what had happened inside. Marisol handed me a slim folder. Final copies, she said. Signed correction. Payment disclosure. Vendeur confirmation. And the event release record. I took it. Thank you. She hesitated, then lowered her voice. For what it's worth, I've planned weddings for 15 years. I've seen parents lie about budgets. Exes crash ceremonies. Grooms disappear. Brides change venues twice in 1 week. Her eyes moved toward the glowing windows. But I have never seen anyone ban the person paying the invoices. I looked at the folder in my hand. My family likes to be original. She did not laugh. That made me respect her more. Do you want me to call you a car? No. I drove. Then please be careful. I nodded and walked to the parking lot alone. For the first time all day, no one was asking me to stay. Smile. Pose. Forgive. Explain. Soften. Or protect the room. My car was quiet when I got in. I placed the folder on the passenger seat like it was another person riding home with me. Before I started the engine, my phone lit up. Lily. I let it ring. Then came a text. Thank you for coming. Thank you for saving the wedding. I know that does not fix what I allowed. I did not answer. A minute later, another message arrived. I'm sorry Dad had to be forced to say your name. He should have said it from the beginning. That one I read twice. Not because it healed anything, because it was the first time Lily had apologized without asking me to make her feel better. I saved it and still did not reply. Apologies made under chandeliers needed time to survive ordinary daylight. My mother texted next. You embarrassed your father during his toast. I stared at the sentence, then almost smiled. Not because it was funny, but because it was perfect Evelyn Whitaker had watched her husband ban me from a wedding I funded, try to erase my name, steal credit, lie to the groom, and reduce my seat to a problem, and still, the wound she could identify most clearly was his embarrassment. I forwarded the message to myself, then added it to the folder when I got home. My father did not text. He called once. I let it go to voicemail. The preview appeared a few seconds later. Claire, this family cannot survive if you keep humiliating us over money. I deleted it without listening. The family had survived my silence for years. It could survive my receipts for one night. The next morning, the first rewrite attempt arrived exactly on schedule. My mother sent a group message to relatives thanking everyone for attending the beautiful wedding Martin, and I worked so hard to give Lily. She did not say paid for. She was learning. But not enough. Aunt Rebecca replied first, Evelyn. I thought Claire funded the wedding. There was no response for 6 minutes. Then Margaret Bennett wrote, she did. Noah and Lily sent the correction to both families. Please don't minimize it. I sat at my kitchen table with coffee going cold beside me, reading that message 3 times. For years, correcting my parents had been a lonely job. Now other people were finally spending some of the energy truth required. By noon, Noah emailed me directly. Subject line, thank you, and apology. He wrote that he and Lily had reviewed every invoice, that they understood the wedding had only happened because of my gift, and that they would not accept any version of the story where Martin and Evelyn were credited for my payments. He also wrote one sentence that made me stop scrolling. I am sorry I married into the lie before I understood who had been carrying it. I believed him. Belief was not trust yet. But it was a start. Lily's email came later that evening. Longer. Messier. More honest. She admitted she knew I was being pushed out long before the guest list was changed. She admitted she let Mom call it keeping the peace because peace felt easier when I was the one paying for it. She wrote, I wanted the wedding more than I wanted to protect you. I hate that sentence. But it is true. I sat with that one for a long time. Then I replied with only 3 words I know. Not forgiveness. Not cruelty. Just truth returned without decoration. 2 days after the wedding, I created a digital folder called Not Family. Not Funding. Inside it, I placed the original vendor contracts, payment records, the removed guest list, the signed correction, my parents' messages, Noah's apology, Lily's confession, and Marisol's final event report. I did not do it because I wanted to live inside the hurt. I did it because my parents were experts at fog. They could turn a clear day into confusion if no one kept the weather report. On Friday, my father sent one last email. We need to sit down as a family and put this behind us. I looked at the word family until it lost all meaning. Then I forwarded the email to the attorney I had used for my business contracts and wrote, please, draft a notice. No financial discussions. No reimbursement. No direct contact about the wedding. Future communication in writing only. When the notice went out, my mother responded within an hour. So now we need lawyers to talk to our own daughter. I read it once, then closed my laptop. They had needed my money without my presence, my silence without my dignity, my signature without my seat. A lawyer was generous compared to what they had earned. That night, Lily texted again. Mom asked me to tell you she's heartbroken. I told her I'm not a hallway to you anymore. I looked at the message, and for the first time since the wedding, I answered without feeling like I was giving away too much. Good. Then I turned off my phone and made dinner in my quiet kitchen, where every chair belonged to someone I chose to let in. The legal notice did not make my parents quieter. It made them more careful, which was worse for them because careful people leave better records. My father stopped calling and started writing emails with subject lines like family resolution and wedding misunderstanding, as if renaming the fire could unburn the room. My mother sent one message through my aunt saying she had never meant to exclude me, only to protect Lily's peace. I archived that sentence beside the removed guest list. Protect Lily's peace. That was what they called taking my money, deleting my name, and asking me to disappear politely before the photographer arrived. My attorney, Daniel Price, sent one final clarification. Claire Whitaker does not consent to reimbursement, private reinterpretation of payment history, or use of her name in any statement suggesting Martin or Evelyn Whitaker funded the wedding. All future communication regarding the wedding must remain in writing. My father responded with one line, "You are destroying this family over credit." I read it at my kitchen table, the same table where Lily had cried 6 months earlier with the first unpaid venue contract in her hands. Then I opened the Not Family, Not Funding folder and added his email without answering. Credit. That was still what he thought this was about. Not the guest list. Not the lie. Not the fact that he had called me not family while standing inside an event paid for by my bank account. To him, the injury was not what they had done. It was that they had been named. 2 weeks after the wedding, Lily asked if we could meet. Not at Mom's house. Not with Dad. Not as a family. Just the two of us. At a coffee shop near my office, with one sentence in her text that made me consider it. I am not asking you to fix this for me. I agreed to 30 minutes. Lily arrived without makeup, without the glowing bride performance, without our mother's voice folded into hers. She sat across from me and placed a printed copy of the correction on the table. "I keep this," she said. "Why?" Her fingers pressed against the paper. "Because I need to remember that the wedding didn't almost collapse because of you. It almost collapsed because I let them lie until you stopped paying for the lie." I looked at her for a long moment. "That is the first accurate sentence you've said about it." Her eyes filled. But she did not cry loudly. Good. I had no room left for tears that asked to be managed. "Noah and I are paying you back," she said. I shook my head. "No. Claire, it was a gift to you and Noah." I meant that part. "I'm not letting Mom and Dad turn repayment into a receipt for forgiveness." Lily swallowed. "Then what do I do? You live honestly after the wedding I paid for. You correct the lie every time it appears. You don't use me as a shield from them. You don't ask me to sit at a table just because you finally noticed the chair was missing." She nodded slowly. "Okay." I waited for the argument. It did not come. That mattered more than any apology she had given me. Months passed. Lily and Noah kept their distance from my parents. Not fully cut off. Not dramatically. But enough that Martin and Evelyn could no longer use them as proof that the family had moved on. At Thanksgiving, Lily hosted dinner at her apartment and did not invite our parents or me. She texted beforehand, "I'm not ready to make a room that asks you to forgive them." That was the right choice. So I answered good. My mother called it cruel. My father called it manipulation. Noah called it consequences. And that word traveled through the family faster than my mother could stop it. Relatives stopped asking me why I had canceled the wedding and started asking Evelyn why Claire had been removed in the first place. My father's favorite golf friend joked once, too loudly, that Martin should check who paid before banning people from future parties. Dad left early. My mother stopped posting wedding photos after people kept commenting. Was Claire in this one? The punishment was not loud anymore. It was quieter and better. It was every compliment about the wedding becoming a reminder of the daughter they tried to erase. 6 months later, Marisol mailed me one final package, a framed copy of the photo I had taken with Lily and Noah under the white roses. Not with my parents. Not the full family portrait my mother had wanted to use as proof of repair. Just the three of us. Standing in the only honest family photo of the day, A note was tucked behind it. Some events survive because one person refuses to let the records lie. I hung the photo in my hallway, not because everything was healed, but because the picture told the truth without asking me to soften it. Lily was still earning her way back, one correct choice at a time. Noah had become someone I trusted more than I expected. My parents remained outside the locked door of my life, sending careful messages through careful channels, still hoping I would eventually confuse exhaustion with forgiveness. I did not. On the last page of the Not Family, Not Funding folder, I wrote wedding funded, guest removed, authorization suspended, correction signed, truth named, parents restricted, sister accountable. Slowly. No reimbursement. No private rewrite. No forced family table. Then I closed it. My parents banned me from my sister's wedding because they thought family was a word they could grant when they needed obedience and revoke when they needed control. They forgot that contracts do not care about their feelings. Vendors do not run on appearances. And money leaves a trail, even when daughters are told to disappear. The moment they said I was not family, I stopped acting like the bank. And if they ever wondered why I never came back to save another room for them, all they had to do was open the folder and read the title they gave me themselves, Not Family. Not funding. What I learned from that wedding is that help becomes dangerous when it is required to stay invisible. A gift can be generous, but a hidden gift can become a stage for someone else's lie. When people accept your money while removing your name, they are not protecting peace. They are asking you to finance a version of reality where your sacrifice exists. But you do not. I do not regret saving the wedding. I regret how long I confused silence with love. Real family does not need false credit to feel important. And real gratitude does not hide the person who made the room possible. If honesty ruins the appearance of a celebration, then the celebration was already standing on something weak. A beautiful day built on erased truth is not peace. It is decoration over debt. Scriptwriter Nguyen Van Chien.